In this video, we're going to be talking about English to metric conversions, and this is an important concept for dimensional analysis, which is what a lot of nurses use in order to do things like convert from patient mass to the amount of drugs that that patient particularly needs. And so we do this using conversion factors. And so those conversion factors, those are like equivalencies. Like if we know from previous, like 1,000 milligrams are in 1 gram. This would be metric to metric. We can also write that as a fraction. 1 gram to 1,000 milligrams, or 1,000 milligrams on top for every 1 gram. And how do you know which one you need? You have to look at the problem. So there's really no one textbook way to do this. The goal is to cancel from top to bottom with the units. So as long as the units are canceling and you end up with the correct units, then you're doing everything fine. So we're going to work through this, especially with English to metric conversions, because the conversion factors there are sometimes a little bit confusing. They're not really easy to remember like those in metric, which is all based on powers of 10. The English versions, so that would be like feet to inches. There's 12 inches in a foot. Those types of things like cups and ounces, and that's where everybody kind of gets confused. So I think this is really important that we can take English measurements and convert them to metric measurements, and this can be important for things like dosages, like teaspoons to milliliters and that type of thing. Okay, so the question that we're going to be answering today is how many meters are in 1.25 feet? So for every single one of these questions, you're going to first want to figure out what units you have and what units you're going to. So this is what we know. We know we have 1.25 feet. That's what we know. So you're always going to start with what you know. Start with what you know. And that's going to be the unit. The unit here is feet with the number next to it. So this is a complete thought, right? So we always, for all of our values, we want a numerical value and also a unit. And this is where we're going to go. So start with what you know, and then you're going to figure out where to go. Figure out where to go. So we're starting with feet, and we got to get to meters. Okay. And then the way that we're going to tackle this, third step, is use conversion factors. So when you're starting out, you will probably need to look these up online in order to use them for a while. And then after you've used them for a while, it's really kind of, it kind of sticks in your mind a little bit better. The more you use something, the better you understand it, of course. Okay, so we're going to start with what we know. We're going to write that on top. So 1.25 feet. And we're going to set up our conversion ladder. Okay, what we want to end up with at the end is we want meters on top and nothing on bottom. So I'm just going to write it off on the side over here. We want to end up with meters. Just as a reminder, we're taking feet and going to meters. Okay, so now what the heck are we going to do? Well, this ladder thing is setting this up like fractions. So if we know that there are 2.54 centimeters in 1 inch, that's the conversion that I know in order that kind of relates something in metric. Here we see centimeters to something in English. That's inches. So, and I know here that we're starting with English, and I also know that there's 12 inches equals 1 foot. Okay, so that's something that you can look up, or perhaps you already know that. So, I have a way to get from feet to inches, and then from inches to centimeters, and then I can get from centimeters to meters. So that's my plan of attack. Okay, so you just have sometimes finding out which conversion factors to use will take a little bit of trial and error until you get more comfortable with the process. Okay. The next important thing is you want to cancel cancel the units, top to bottom. Okay, so that's really, really important. That's the algebra trick that we're going to do here, because every single one of these steps, this means multiplication. That's going to be a multiplication sign. And because these are each fractions, we can cancel things on the top with things on the bottom to make it easy. So we know we want to put feet on the bottom here. And then we know we're going from feet to inches. And then we're going to go from inches to centimeters. And then we're going to go from centimeters to meters. And so at the final end, we're going to have a unit of meters, which is the same thing as m. Okay, so this is our plan of attack. And now all we have to do is set this up correctly. Okay, I'm going to do this one piece at a time. So every time you've got an equivalency, you do not separate the number and the units. So for this first one, we know that 12 inches equals 1 foot. That's the conversion we're using. The 12 is always going to go with the inches because these are on the same side of the equal sign. And the 1 is always going to go with the foot because they're on the same side of the equal sign. And that's it. Okay, so this is going to end up canceling feet and feet. So we're going to multiply 1.25 times 12, and that would tell us how many inches are in this foot. The next thing we're going to do is we've got 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. This is the actual conversion that converts the English unit to the metric unit. So we know that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. And so this cancels bottom to top, inches to inches. And if we multiply 1.25 times 12 times 2.54, that tells us how many centimeters would be in 1.25 feet. And then we're dividing both of these by 1, so the math there is really simple. But we're not there yet because we're not to meters yet, we're to centimeters. And then you have a couple options here. You can do King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk and convert by moving the decimal, or you can do another conversion factor because we know that there are 100 centimeters equals 1 meter. So here, we got to remember that the 1 goes with the meter and the 100 goes with the centimeter. So the centimeters on the bottom, so that's where the 100 goes. The meters on the top, so that's where the 1 goes. Okay, and when we do this, the centimeters on the top and the bottom cancel. There are no other units. All we're left with is meters. And this is going to give us an answer in meters. So that's check. So how we're going to solve this is we're going to multiply everything on the top, and then we're going to divide by everything on the bottom, and then come up with an answer. So take a moment to plug that into your calculator, and then restart the video. Okay, welcome back. So the final answer you should get after you multiply 1.25 times 12 times 2.54, and then times 1 if you'd like to, then divide by 1 if you'd like to. Dividing by 1 does nothing to change the number. And then dividing by 100, you get an answer of 0.381 meters. And that is our final answer. And so a question that a lot of students have is how many decimals do I put this out to? And the answer is that it depends on the number of numbers that you started with. So here we started with 1, 2, 3 numbers. These are called significant figures. So we're ending with 1, 2, 3 numbers. And for the purposes of Chem 120, if you don't know how many decimals to use, do 3 significant figures. So the 0 in front of the decimal doesn't count. That's not significant. If there was another 0 behind here, that wouldn't count. That's not significant. The only way that a 0 counts is if it's in the middle of a number. This would be 3 significant digits. Or if it's immediately after a decimal. So like this would be 1, 2 significant digits. So there we go. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and I hope that clarifies English to metric. And similarly, we could ask this question the other way, feet to meters. Or feet to meters is what we solved, but we could also ask it meters to feet, and the process would be the same. You start with what you know, you figure out where to go, and you use your conversion factors, whichever ones you remember, in order to piece this together, canceling units top to bottom, to get the final answer. Thank you very much.